I throw a few nice little spirals and rockets at his face, and he's catching them. And damn, you throw the ball pretty good, Sims. I go, yeah, I did play quarterback in the NFL. You know that? He's like, what? You played in the NFL? I had no idea.
Yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims. Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Ahmed Fareed is here. We're back. We had a sabbatical, a week off. It was awesome. We're both tanner.
We are.
So that is a good thing. We're healthier. We're revived. And that was, yes, a little story about the great Rob Gronkowski and him not realizing that, one, I played quarterback in the NFL. Two, that my dad was Phil Simms. He was not aware of that until many, many days into me knowing him. We got a good show today.
But he'd be a good talent evaluator because he saw your arm strength and was like, dang,
damn,
all right.
That's real. Hey, you can
There's
say what you want
here.
me about his quarterback, but my arm was not you couldn't argue that. I could throw the damn thing.
He had no preconceived notions of you.
No,
he just was going off your arm talent alone. It was like, dang, all right.
Damn, this is the best tight end coach I've ever had here throwing me the ball.
Yeah,
What's
maybe
going
it was
on
who
here?
he was comparing you to that just stood out to him.
That's
there.
the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah, you look good.
Thanks,
you got a
man.
glow about you.
Got a glow, got a little burn,
Do you have to get the burn the first day to get the glow second and third
Well,
day?
I gotta push I gotta be careful. Like it is Anguilla, and you're way down there. That's where we were. We went to Anguilla.
You wouldn't tell us that before you went.
Right. I didn't want the paparazzi following me down. Right. But no, it's for the funniest thing in my life right now is I'm the white guy in the family. Right. My wife's 100% Sicilian.
Okay.
My kids, of course, have their blood, right?
Yeah.
They have a definite darker shade of skin than I do. So I'm like, Mr. Wait, how do I look, guys? I got 50 on, and it's been an hour. Do I need to reapply it again?
Yeah.
And then there's my kids, the Italian stallions. They're out there like 3 hours in a row. They got no sunscreen on yet. And I'm like, wow. And then I just like the second or third day, I kept saying, I'm so proud that these are my kids. Look at this.
Yeah.
They're tan. They don't need like sunscreen every 30 minutes like I do. I can't believe this. So I got to chuckle out of that.
People asking them, well, your stepdad over there, how long you known him?
Exactly.
It's like, no, he's my actual dad. Just doesn't look like it right now.
He's just a few shades lighter or redder than me right now.
It's completely the opposite in my family because my wife has very fair skin.
Right.
So, and my kids have fairer skin than I do.
Yes,
so
right.
It's the complete opposite in our family. So we're lathering them up with all the different. And my son got burnt. We were in Florida.
Right.
For winter break, and my son got pretty
Got
burnt.
burned, right.
He didn't want to admit it though.
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you feel okay?" He was like,
Yeah.
"I feel fine. I feel." But it was like, ew, that doesn't look good. I felt like a bad parent. Like they could take us to jail.
I
after
hear that.
whole
I
thing,
hear
but-
that. Yeah, I know.
But it was great. It was great. But now we're back.
We're back.
And
It
you're
never
about-
ends, baby.
You're about to get on a plane once again.
Getting on a plane this afternoon, going to Indy, Combine. I mean, to me, this is like the official kickoff week of the 2023 NFL season now. We've officially transitioned away from Super Bowl champs, Chiefs 2022 season. Now we restart the new league year. And to me, this is kind of the kickoff of it. The week at Indy, seeing the coaches, GMs, all the new players that are going to be in our league. It is cool. And I'm always excited to go there. I love seeing some of the guys. I love catching up with some old friends, coaches, front office people. That's the best thing about the NFL Combine.
So you'll get a look at who? Will you get a look at some quarterbacks?
Yeah,
or
they've
no?
changed it around a
I
little
know.
bit. So the quarterbacks aren't until later in the week. So I don't know if I'm going to get to see them in person or not. I might get to see them, but I don't think we're going to get to interview them or do that. So, that's the stinky thing about it. We're only going to be doing the show there from 2 days. We're going to do Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to be there pretty much throughout the day on Pro Football Talk. Thursday, we'll be back here in the studio on as a normal show. But, yeah, the way things are scheduled, I think really, we're going to get a real good taste of the D linemen, the edge rushers, the D tackles.
The
We're going
only
to get all
important
them.
guys
I think some
anyway.
O linemen are coming along as well.
The
so
big butts.
The big butts. They're the most
That's all
fun
you
to
need
look
see.
at. Right.
So you'll be watching on TV at the end of the week,
Yeah,
much like
weekend.
LaFleur for the Packers, and much like McVay maybe for the Rams
Right,
too.
right.
That's been part of the news, part of the headlines here is that some of the coaches now are saying like, still important, but maybe we don't need to be there to watch it in person.
That's right. I think there's two different, or not ways of thinking, but just because the coaches aren't there doesn't mean the Combine isn't still extremely valuable or important to the organization.
Sure.
Right? What happens right now and where it's tough for the coaches and the process of the way the NFL schedule is laid out, think about what they're doing right now. One, the new league year hasn't really officially started, right? Two, you're the Super Bowl's just over. You're evaluating your own team right now.
Yeah.
You're evaluating your own free agents who are about to be free. Wait, do we want to keep them? What's the money there? Blah, blah, blah. Evaluating the rest of the guys on their roster. Anybody we want to cut? Where do we got to improve the team, right? Let alone now there's free agents out there that, oh, wait, we'd like to start looking at them to fill in these spots that we think are, necessary in certain areas. And so their hands are full in that. The combine has great value, but not to them that they have to be there in person for it, right? They can lean on their GM, their front office people to, hey, we talked to this guy. It was a little concerning. Hey, we met this guy in person. Oh, man, he's way different than you think, right? And so there's that value. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the value still doesn't matter that they're not there to watch the workout on row 74 from the stadium anyways, right? So now – not only would they be missing out on evaluations of their team and their free agency, but all these things are filmed, and they're going to get to watch it. And as far as the meeting, if they really like the guy, they'll bring him in for a visit into their facility at some point. So the combine is still the most valuable tool to evaluate college football players. And that's where I don't want the conversation to be confused.
Yeah,
what I mean?
but I get
think
it.
Some people have took it that way, like, oh, maybe there shouldn't be the combine anymore if the coaches aren't going.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just
Right.
it's kind of striking because the philosophy, and it seems like the mentality in the NFL is that if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it, and they're going to have an advantage. And even if it's a 1% advantage, that you don't want to fall behind. And so if this guy's going to stay up, 23 straight hours, you got to stay up 24 straight hours.
That is
the NFL mentality. But if they don't see enough benefit to seeing it with their own eyes,
there's not enough hands-on work that can get done in that week. I think a lot of the coaches realized, McVay's, Shanahan, who didn't go last year, they went, wait, I had this plan of all this work I wanted to do during the day when some of the combine activities weren't going on, but an agent called me, or I had to go meet somebody else, or somebody in my staff. So then they're going, damn, I didn't get done what I wanted to get done today. And then they get home, and then they're like, oh shit, we only got a little bit of time here before free, and they're behind the 8 ball in that. So that's where it is. But even with those, guys who are not there,
scouts will be there, GMs will be
and
there.
There's still so many things. First of all, to have everybody in the same place for the medical evaluation, that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
And then again, the drills are still, it's not foolproof, but there's still great things you can take away from every exercise. And, there's certain things that translate to the field as far as football, or things that they're not good in one of these drills that translate, and you go, ooh, that's a concern for me. Right? So there's plenty of that.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where the value of the combine really shows.
Yeah, I think the argument that this shows that the combine's not as important, I think that's false. It's just like, do these coaches need to be there? And when you think about it, it really does make sense, because it's not like it would almost be more beneficial for these coaches if there was a free agency camp, because then you really do have the chance to take any of those guys. The draft, you end up doing so much work on guys who just aren't available when your spot comes up to pick. Just think about that. It's not. It's like we like 20 guys. Oh, they were picked before we had a chance to take them. So you probably do end up doing so much work that you're just like, what was all that for?
Well, and they have so much time before that.
It's like Cole Strange. Why did we look at Cole Strange?
Right. It's the end of April before that. So how coaches are. Their process right now, the thing that's, on the on-deck circle is free agency. So that's what they're worried about. And they got to worry about that first, and then they try to fill in from the, the rest of the roster and needs throughout the draft. But that's another conversation for another day, whether they should have free agency, after the draft. Or
we've talked about that before.
We have talked about it before. But we got a good one today here on the pod.
We do, because it's going to be our all-pro team. Actually, your all-pro team.
Whoa.
For the first time in the history of the world, you had a vote.
I did.
Someone gave you a vote.
I was finally heard.
So you voted for first team, second team All-Pro, right?
Yes.
Offense, defense, special teams.
Yes.
With help of Pete.
Oh, special teams, I leaned on Pete for sure.
Good.
As you
should.
Yes, I did.
So
Pete,
we have that.
That was the one area I leaned on, anybody to do this thing, was Pete with my special teams. He definitely laid out some stats and some things for me on some of the punt returners and gunners.
Oh, yeah.
To where then I could, make the decision off that. But he certainly helped me in a big way there, Peter.
And so we'll also have the under-talked-about awards, my under-talked-about players.
Yes.
So that started last year when you were talking about Jair Alexander. And you go, he is one of the most, talked about guys in the NFL. He should be talked about more. So we're like, that's perfect. So we have our under talked about guys who should have been talked about more. Of course, we'll give out the Big Butt of the Year awards. I mean, huge
Got
there.
to.
Peter awards.
Yes.
We'll give out those as well, even though they may be similar to what we hear in the All Sims because Peter had a big influence there.
Definitely.
And also the 3rd annual Homies Choice Awards.
That's most important.
You guys voted through Chris's Twitter. Pete put it together through a form of some of the greatest moments, some of the top performers. And the difference there in the Homies Choice Awards is that we do include the playoffs. And so what they did in the postseason, which is fairly
kind of
important,
a big deal. Right.
Kind of a big deal,
right.
Are included in those awards. So should we get to it?
Let's do it.
Let's get right to it.
You know
the Sims All-Pro team for 2022. You want to start on offense here?
Yeah,
for your
might
guys?
as well. Might as well.
And let's start at the most important position on offense. Quarterback, I could have probably guessed who your All-Pro first and second team guys were before I saw them here. But go for it.
Yeah,
do we do a big reveal? Did we do a big reveal here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just talk about it. You know, we know. Yes, I went with Patrick Mahomes as my first team quarterback. I went with Josh Allen as my second team quarterback. I understand that, you know, there's certainly some debate over the second team one there, right? I mean, hey, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, obviously the guy who won second team All-Pro quarterback. I get all of that. But, you know, it's, again, for me, and Josh Allen, you talk about value of value to a team and what they do. I think that's something we tried to emphasize to people all year long. I think people realized that as the year went on, they started to go, wait, he's really the only thing they got that's real special on that offense. We know Diggs is in that combo a little bit, but out of the superstar quarterbacks in the league right now, I think Josh Allen has got the least amount of talent around him. And I think he dictates the way they play as a football team just through his talent. So that's where I gave him the edge as my second team quarterback. But I don't think the first team quarterback's a surprise by any stretch of the imagination.
I mean, you went into the year with Josh Allen as your number one quarterback in the Chris Sims.
He won't be this year.
Top 40 quarterback list.
I mean, it just inklings into that. I mean, Mahomes is going to be one going in the next year. I mean, we always knew Mahomes. We said this many times. In totality, Mahomes, yes, his career is better than anybody in the league right now. You know, the last 2 seasons, as far as not this past one, 2022, but 2020 and 2021, I don't think it was crazy to say Josh Allen had better years than Patrick Mahomes in those 2 seasons, right? So, hey, this year, Mahomes is 1. What will come down to me, which is going to be interesting this year, is Josh Allen 2.
Yeah.
You know, because Burrow, to me, will be in that conversation this year. Burrow... And that's where, you know, film and getting into some of my nuanced stuff and watching stuff that way when it comes time to do the quarterback rankings, we'll see. But I do think that should be an interesting part of it.
And your guy Justin Herbert was number 2 in passing yards this year, too. So he'll be in the conversation up there in the top 4 once again.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think we all know we know who the top 4 are. Right. It's just the order. We know who the top 4 are.
It's just where's Tom Brady going to be? That's the only question at this point.
Somewhere disappointing to the New England fans.
Yeah. It's like, I know he's not playing anymore, but still, you got to have Tom Brady in your top 20.
Right. Oh, I got a lot of flack, you know, from those my 3 favorite idiots over at WEI because they, you know, worst take of the year, Justin Herbert better than Tom Brady. Yeah. Are they kidding me? Like, get out of here.
Didn't you get some flack in this building for your Joe Burrow is going to be better than Tom Brady take, too?
I have. Yes, I have. Yes, we've addressed that many a times. I don't think we need to
What do you mean you've addressed that? Like in person, like in a parking lot or something?
No, not that serious. So that's quarterback, but I don't think it's anything shocking there.
Not
shocking. At least if you know me.
Running back, the guy that you give it to, would have been shocking in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, right. But I think clearly the best running back in the game last year was Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is just, you know, he's got it all. And Josh Jacobs is one of those guys, man, if you saw him in person, and my second team running back, Nick Chubb, same way here, you'd go, oh, that's what makes him a top. Josh Jacobs in person is I know his measurables don't look like it. He's a much bigger, thicker human being than you realize. I bet you he weighs significantly more than what he's listed at, you know, and he's just naturally thick with those, you know, thick neck and big square head, and same kind of with Nick Chubb that way. But yeah, to me, those are the 2 best in the game right now. They're just between the tackles, making people miss. Chubb's better at the 50 or 60 yard touchdown run, But, man, Josh Jacobs, the amount of awesome 15 and 12 and 10-yard runs, it's off the charts good.
A couple names you could have thrown in there, maybe Derrick Henry, second in the NFL in rushing yards this year.
Yeah.
Did seem to take a step back for whatever reason. I mean, that team wasn't as good either.
Quarterback got hurt, no A.J. Brown. There was nothing to worry about other than just stopping Derrick Henry. That's all teams worried about there for a little while, and I think that certainly helped them. But still, I mean, hey, Derrick Henry, I don't give a shit if he doesn't make another Pro Bowl, All-Pro team, whatever. Derrick Henry, for my money, is already an all-time great running back. And I think he's, to me, probably getting on the fringe of first ballot Hall of Famer type of guy, too, for his career.
And you go Nick Chubb over your guy Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, Saquon was certainly I thought about him. I do. But, man, Nick Chubb, to me, as we did our running back rankings before the year, he just got it all. He really does. There's no aspect of his game that I look at to go, ooh, I wish he was a little bit better there.
He's still pretty underrated, I feel like.
I would agree with that, too. Shares some carries, and their team doesn't get enough, national spotlight games because they haven't been good enough to be in playoffs and things like that. So would agree with you there.
They always got some other drama going on that's not Nick Chubb, which is good if you're Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Not good if you want to stand out amongst all the other players out there in the NFL. All right, wide receiver, you had 3 choices here for first team wide receiver. This was tough because, as you said a couple years ago, there are 20 top 3 wide receivers, or top 10.
This might have been the toughest one altogether. And the talent there. Listen, for me, the top 3 receivers in football this year were Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown. Nobody was more of a game changer for their football team. Again, I'd be the guy that would sit there and tell you the MVP of the Eagles was A.J. Brown. Nobody changed their team more than he did. And A.J. Brown, to me, this year solidified himself as one of the 2 or 3 best. I don't know what can you look at about A.J. Brown? Every time he catches the ball, it's a 60-yard bomb or a touchdown. I mean, what else? Is that not dangerous or is that not awesome? I know some of the other guys on the right. I got Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs and Jalen Waddle. I like all of them. But again, Devontae Adams, big plays, they don't come the same way A.J. Brown does, in my opinion. Neither was Stephon Diggs. A lot of first downs, a lot of 15, 20-yard plays. But those guys on the left, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and A.J. Brown, those are like slant, touchdown, go route, touchdown, post route, touchdown, screen, touchdown. They're unbelievable weapons at this point of their career.
I like Jalen Waddle, too. Second team. I think it was, what was it? It was in the Pro Bowl that Jamar Chase made it over Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, the name thing. Jamar Chase, again, in totality, is a top 5 receiver in football.
Yeah.
This year himself, did he have a better
time.
year? Yeah, he missed some games. Right, exactly right. Missed some games, played a number of games where he wasn't even 100% either. So I don't think you get to see the real guy for a good part of the year. Jalen Waddle, again, I know CeeDee Lamb made second team, right, where I don't have him. I just put more value in anybody who's listened to us knows this, in those type of guys. I put more value in the guy that, oh, wait, you can throw him a slant route and he can run by everybody for 70 yards? Okay, yeah, CeeDee Lamb, he's got a lot of great stuff. He's an awesome player. I have tremendous respect for him. A lot of awesome 12 and 15-yard catches, and he's tough and everything. But I'm one that, the explosive ability. You're talking about one guy had 75 catches, Jalen Waddle. CeeDee Lamb had 107, and Jalen Waddle had 3 less yards on the year. After, 32 less catches, right? He had 1 less touchdown. 6 yards more per reception. I'm just bigger into that. I am. His explosive ability is special, in my opinion.
And it's like a resurgence of the skinny receiver out there. We really are seeing a lot. The smaller guy.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, college teammates at Alabama, both skinnier guys. Chris Olave had a big year.
Right.
Smaller dude.
Sure. Garrett Wilson's skinny like that. Yeah. No doubt. I think it's.
I hope they hold up.
It's going to be the big thing. I mean, Devontae Smith, you're sitting here today. He was in a walking boot, last week from all due accounts. Yeah, you hope they hold up too. Jalen Waddle did get beat up this year. We've seen Devontae Smith get beat up. I do think with the current rules of the way the NFL are, those guys can last more now than maybe they could in the 90s or 80s when the rules were a little different.
You have Travis Kelce, first team.
Shocker.
Going to be no argument there. But second team, George Kittle.
Yeah.
So obviously he's been in that conversation for a long time,
Yeah.
second, first team. More yards this year, though. T.J. Hockenson had more yards than Kittle. It looks like Evan Ingram did, too, along with Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Why Kittle over those guys?
Well, Kittle, to me, one, is a better run blocker than all those guys. Kittle's a pretty special run blocker. Kittle also, had a little bit of an unstable, I should say, quarterback situation,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
So that led to, I think, some maybe underwhelming games in the early part of the year, middle part of the year. But then he exploded once Brock Purdy got comfortable. You saw what he was capable of. And to me, him and Kittle are they're the best in the game with the ball in their hand. I mean, him and Kelce. And Kittle has Kelce might be better at, wiggling and getting away and getting an extra 15, 10 yards. But Kittle is got legit, a little bit more of an explosive ability to where you're like, oh, whoa, he's gone for 60 down the sideline, right? He might not be quite as good overall in the pass game as Kelce, but damn, he's special. And it's just, it's hard to, 11 touchdowns. I mean, the plays he makes are game-changing, different type of plays, and that's where I give him the edge.
Yeah, I think from second half of the year on, midpoint of the year on, I think George Kittle by far stands out.
Right.
Pretty close to Travis Kelce in that regard, too.
It was, and pretty close. And, man, that tight end position we're seeing it's becoming freakier and freakier.
I think there are a lot of good tight ends in the draft coming up this year.
From what I've heard, I think you're right. And then, you talk about, the names you just mentioned. I mean, Evan Ingram's a superstar.
Right.
Dallas Goedert is damn good. Darren Waller, I mean, he was hurt all year. I mean, Darren Waller, you talk to anybody in football, he's probably the most talented tight end there is in the game. So it's a special position in the league right now.
All right, we move to the guys protecting all those skilled players, making them look good. You got to have time if you're a guy like Joe Burrow out there. So the big guys up front. The offensive line, I think we can take a look at your first and second team offensive line. Some names that are no surprises. You have Lane Johnson and Trent Williams, your two tackles. That was probably pretty easy for you.
They were easy, no doubt. I think they're the two best tackles in the game, left tackle, right tackle, whatever you want to say. I think you can almost just say that. I mean, if Lane Johnson got moved over to left tackle, you'd go, oh, damn, who's better, him or Trent Williams? Or if you move Trent to right, you go, oh, damn, who's better, him or Lane? Thank God they don't play on the same side. Those were easy. The middle three, I think, those are some conversations to be had, and I think there was some differences there with me and the rest of the world.
So the AP had Jason Kelce as first-team center, Creed Humphrey as second team. You do have Creed Humphrey as second team, but you have my guy Frank Ragnow, Detroit Lions, first team.
I'm a little bit of a sucker for an absolute killer in the run game, and that's what Frank Ragnow is. Again, Kelce it was a hard one here. Kelce athletically is better than those two guys, and there's things that he does on the edge and getting to the second level or type of blocks like that I go, yes, no doubt about it. But if you ask me, who would be better, we want to run behind this guy, and he's got to blow the nose tackle off the ball, and we got to get 3 yards right here, I'm going to pick the other two guys to root out a big Chris Jones or Christian Wilkins type of player, right? I think that's where, they got a little bit of an advantage. Again, Jason Kelce, I'm not mad that he's on there. I guess I'm a little surprised he was first team. But, yeah, I just look at Frank Ragnow as being in the prime of his career and the best center in the game right now.
Left guard, you had Joel Bitonio for the Cleveland Browns, Joe Thuney for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So you got a couple Chiefs on the second team, offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, Thuney and Creed Humphrey are really good. And Thuney, to me, and again, one of the reasons I think I picked the Chiefs is, hey, Orlando Brown, hey, Creed Humphrey we're talking about. Joe Thuney is arguably the best pass-blocking guard in football. And that's where I see his value.
Eyebrows could be raised at right guard.
Right.
Because the AP had Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys as first team, and then Chris Lidstrom as second team. You have the Falcons' Chris Lidstrom as first team, and then you have Michael Onwenu from the Patriots as second team. So you have left off Zach Martin.
Again, Zach Martin's still really good. I think he gets a little overhyped because of prior accomplishments. What I want to tell people is, let's watch film together, and I'm show you Chris Lidstrom, Zach Martin, 4 years ago right now, in the prime. To me, the best road grading guard there is in the game right now. I mean, just dominates people. So I just don't think the public knows about him quite enough yet to make him first team. Next year, I think he'll be first team.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Onwenu, he you know. It's the same. It's you know, I'm a little sucker for these guys that are just killers, and that's where, you know, yeah, he's got position versatility, but he's a great guard and he's unbelievable in the run game, and of course good in pass protection too. And he was one of those guys that, you know, I look at it here, and not that I try to be different, but I just go, damn, does nobody talk about this guy? I don't know. Every game I watch, they'd say, hey, we know the Patriots are going to run off the right guard, and nobody stops it, and they just run right up the middle. And it's, hey, we don't even have a good offensive coordinator or a passing game this year, but we can still run up the middle with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. And that's because of this guy. I think he's a hell of a player.
Pete notes here that Quentin Nelson made the Pro Bowl over Onwenu.
There's no way that should have happened. No way. See, that's the name thing again.
So Pete was talking about this with us before we started the podcast here today, and that has been the case a long time. Once you've established yourself as a name on the offensive line, in years past, it's hard. It's like, all right, you've established that you are the guy.
Right.
But I feel like we've come a long way.
People are getting
then.
better.
We're getting better at that.
Yeah. You used to see guys that you would hang around the All-Pro team, and you're like, are you kidding me? They still think this guy's an All-Pro?
Yeah.
He should barely be starting for his own team, let alone All-Pro. And yes, I think there was a little. Hey, the thing that that's where the PFFs of the world are good. They've expanded people's knowledge. Now, sometimes it's a little too much. Like, this is the holy grail, and I don't always agree with that, right? And then the availability to film through PFF and other avenues, I do think has helped people out to go, wait, I can just watch 50 plays of these guys right now and just watch this guy. And so I do think it's improved in that area for sure.
So that's the offense.
Yep.
The Chris Sims team. And I'd like to say too, and so you said that I like the guys that just crush it in the run game. And that's the whole point of having a vote and having multiple points of view. And people think that all the time, like in baseball. I'm a big baseball guy. And it's like, I think a lot of people think with these awards, it's like there's a right answer and a wrong answer. It's a quiz, not a ballot. And it's like, no, you're supposed to bring your own opinions, your own biases, your own feelings to your vote. And that's you like the guys that crush it in the run game. I mean, I feel like that's perfectly fine. If anyone's trying to pick a fight out there.
No, yeah. And to me too, you know, again, it's you know, maybe my eyes a little different through being a player and things like that.
But that's how it's supposed to be.
Maybe where I can appreciate some nuances of their game that, you know, maybe a Peter King, as great as he is, won't appreciate, right?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And not to say I'm right or he's right or I'm wrong or he's wrong. I'm not trying to say that. But, you know, that's where, you know, hey, right tackle. Tristan Wirfs is awesome. I thought about him at right tackle, right, and second team, but I put Brian O'Neill there. You know, I went, wait, Wirfs missed 4 games. He played a few games that he wasn't even 100%. It wasn't his best ball, you know. I know in totality he's probably a first-team type of guy, but I did not think it was a second-team All-Pro type of year with missing 4 games and then playing a few others out at 100%. Yeah. O'Neill is the reason, you know, you see Kirk Cousins sitting back there all day long, waiting for Justin Jefferson 20 yards down the field all day, every day, right? He's, to me, another one of those guys where I go, nobody knows about this guy enough, and maybe that's where I'm a little biased sometimes, and I do give, you know, if it's a tie, I give the unknown guy, the tie goes to the runner that way. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it is probably the case that he is being overlooked, too. And so you're probably not wrong with that instinct. And I'm glad you gave some love to Brian O'Neill because I almost put him on the under-talked-about team. He just missed the cut even there. Can you believe that? But we give some love, and Chris does on the second team. That's the O. So we'll start on the defensive line, the edge guys, the defensive tackles here. The big butt guys. And here are the names that we're used to seeing. Yeah. There's not a whole lot of guys off the radar. We've been talking about these guys all year long because of what we do with the Big Butt Awards. But your first team defensive lineman, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, I don't want to give away what I'm doing with the Big Butt Awards, but those guys
are going to be on there.
Those guys had dominant years.
Yeah, they're dominant. You know, they are. Chris Jones was the best D tackle in football this year. Dexter Lawrence, for me, was a little bit of that guy that I don't know if people really realized how awesome he was all year. Didn't necessarily have sack numbers that put it up that way, but his ability, just like game-changing plays like the last play against the Vikings, right? No stat, But he was about to crush Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins had to throw the ball before he wanted to, and he had to throw it short of the chains, right?
Yep.
Had to throw a little 4-yard out instead of trying to get it past it on the 4th and 8.
He dominated that
game. He dominated the game. He had a lot of games of domination, and the stats won't always say that. I think he's up there for not only one of the best interior pass rushers and pushing the pocket, but, of course, one of the best run-stopping D tackles in football. I couldn't overlook his year. I thought it was a special first-team all-pro type of year.
So you thought that the AP and totality ended up putting him second team and the Jets' Quinnen Williams first team.
I'm not mad at that. I'm not. I mean, Quinnen, see, again, this is to me where Quinnen has more of the stats or the splash plays, right? So that's where I look at it and go, hey, Quinnen's awesome. I get that. But, I think between his sacks and then, Dexter not getting enough credit for the play up, or hey, he's got 3 guys triple teaming him and he's just like, oh, I'm standing here so everybody else can make the tackle and there's still no hole, right? He doesn't get the credit for that type of stuff. But Quinnen Williams, I'm not mad at that. Certainly not. He's my second team guy. He was awesome this year. He really was. The guy I was shocked at was Jeffrey Simmons winning second team, where I put Christian Wilkins. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is the man, too. I mean, we're talking about studs. But this, to me, was not one of his best years. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't watch a Dolphins game without going, who the is that guy running around the field with that big ass making all these tackles, right? Or listening to the announcers go, man, when you watch Christian Wilkins. I mean, so that to me, I had to give him the love. He was second teamer for me.
Yeah. Pete wants to know if that was a Chris Collinsworth impression.
It did have a
little bit of a here's the guy, and
I think I
texted you too. I was like, hey, let's give some love to Christian Wilkins, and you're like, I already did that.
Yeah.
Because I think he did miss a little bit of time.
Little time, right? It wasn't much.
Not much.
I want to say maybe 1 or 2 games, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing that. But to me, again, it's the versatility of what Christian Wilkins is, what he's asked to do too. See, Quinnen Williams, it's just one gap,
yeah.
win that gap. Christian Wilkins, they go.
Oh, he did play every game?
They go. It was every game.
Okay, so I was wrong.
So he win that gap, and then they also ask him to 2 gap, right? That's like with Dexter Lawrence. So they ask him to win with like the speed shooting the gap thing, but then also hold people up and just control the giant human on earth, no problem. And to me, I give that some value. And yeah, they're going to have to pay him some big money here soon.
Your edge guys, you went with Nick Bosa and Micah Parsons first team. You didn't have Micah Parsons at linebacker, so that was good.
Oh, that was one of the funny things because I was a little late turning in my ballot, and I was like feeling so bad. It's my first year, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry I turned in the ballot. It was a day I was going to see Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. It was due,
right?
A lot
going on then.
I was a little stressed that day. And then I was like, oh, I'll do it and finalize it when I'm on the plane. And then they had no Wi-Fi in the plane. I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy's going to kill me. So that night when I finally said, I'm really, really sorry, I was like, damn, what a great first impression I made. And he's like, don't worry. I'm still chasing half the voters to tell them that Micah Parsons is not a stand-up linebacker anymore. So that made me feel better.
I've seen him play that once or twice. So you had Bosa and Parsons as your first team guys. You had Myles Garrett and Max Crosby second team.
Yeah. The one where... first off, I think Nick Bosa and Mike Parsons for me were clearly the guys. Clearly. Myles Garrett, to me, was clear. The one I did go back and forth was Max Crosby and Hassan Reddick. It is. I mean, Reddick is phenomenal.
He did get Reddick second team.
Yeah, I know.
Crosby.
I know. And I guess where I feel a little, or maybe the thing that I feel like Max was all year long, where Hassan might have been more came on strong at the end of the season type of thing. And then the other part of Max that I don't think gets talked about, because we just talk about the sacks and all that. I would argue that Max Crosby plays harder, like him and Christian Wilkins, the guy we just talked about. They might play harder than anybody in football on a down-to-down basis. They never come off the field, and it's pedal to the metal every play, whether it's like, whoa, they just chased the guy 30 yards downfield, and then it's still pedal to the metal in the pass rush the next play. So that's kind of where I gave him a little bit of an edge over that one. But that was one that kept me up a little bit, where I was like, man, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong with this one. But Max is a hell of a player. Hassan is too. They're both worthy of it.
Yeah, some of these are so difficult.
No,
because
it's like
there's 5 or 6 players that had really, really good years, and
Yeah.
they're pretty equal. Let's go to the linebackers now and the defensive backs. You get a few more selections here. 3 linebackers that make first team. You got a couple corners and then a couple of safeties. Let's start with the linebackers.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of, I mean, you had a little bit of a flavor here than what actually happened with the first and second team. You had Fred Warner from the 49ers as first team, C.J. Mosley as well, and then Roquan Smith for the Baltimore Ravens, all first team.
Yeah. Fred Warner to me is the best linebacker in football. There's nobody better than Fred Warner. C.J. Mosley, similar position, same exact defense really for the most part. And we talked about him a lot throughout the year. Mosley, Fred Warner, there's just no weakness to their game. And Mosley, a little bit was shocking just because you were like, wait, injuries, getting up there a little bit in age. Is he going to be the same guy? All that. He was everywhere this year, right? Roquan, I think, speaks for itself. He's in that conversation for one of the best linebackers in football. It's probably my second team guys that are a little bit surprising to people out here.
So, yeah, we got Foye Oluokun for the Jacksonville Jaguars is your second team. Dre Greenlaw for the 49ers, second team. Nick Bolton, Chiefs, second team. None of those guys even made the Pro Bowl, let alone the All-Pro team.
Right.
Now, we saw Bolton in the Super Bowl, so validation to you. I'm surprised, though, that Greenlaw hasn't gotten more love, and we'll get to Foye because I think 2 years in a row he's basically headlining my defense for my under-talked-about team. He led the NFL in tackles, once again, 2 years in a row.
Yeah. I'm maybe a little bit of a sucker for those guys. Now, he's not the best pass coverage linebacker, right? So that's always the thing you hear about him. But damn, I mean, if they didn't have him a middle linebacker this year, who knows what that run defense would be. So yeah, he's not perfect, but he's arguably the greatest tackling machine in the game right now. And you know me, I don't just go with tackles. Like linebackers, they all get a lot of tackles. So, there's a difference between the tackles. And Oluokun, a lot of tackles are made in the hole or at the 1 yard mark, right?
Because the difference between that was set up for an easy tackle. The defensive line basically mauled the entire offensive line, and there's no one blocking the linebacker. You see him as making a lot of very difficult tackles.
I see him making tackles of like, whoa, he took on the fullback and got off him and made the tackle for a 1 yard gain. Whoa, he took on the pulling guard and just stalemated him and clogged the hole, and they couldn't get through the hole. He didn't get the tackle, but it was all because of him, right? Sideline to sideline, he's really good. Yeah, he's not the best in pass coverage. So tight ends like that, that's not his. But yeah, he's to me, Demario Davis. That's what we're looking at. It was the same thing said about Demario for a while. Oh, he's not the best in pass coverage. He's not the best. It's not the worst by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of his. And then Dre Greenlaw, to me, is arguably the most underrated linebacker in the sport. He's in that 49er team that's just got stars galore, and he kind of just gets lost in the shuffle. If he was a middle linebacker for another team, everybody would be going, oh, he's one of the best linebackers in football. He gets overshadowed because Fred Warner's on his team, who's a little bit better than he is. But I want to go, man, he put him on like 90% of the other teams in the NFL, and they're going to go, well, he's the best linebacker in our team or our division. I think he's amazing. And then Nick Bolton, to me, I think a little bit like I'm just saying with Dre, he gets a little lost in the shuffle of the other stars on the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And, their defense, it's not always a top 5, top 6 defense. So, everybody always looks at that's got to be the best middle linebacker because that's the top defense, right? And no, not necessarily. I mean, again, no weaknesses, as you saw in the Super Bowl. Can do everything and is awesome in the run, in the pass game. I'm a big fan of Nick Bolton.
So on the second team for the AP, it looks like they had Mosley on the second team, Bobby Wagner, who's not in.
Yeah, which I don't agree with it at all.
For you.
Right.
And
Bobby
Demario
Wagner
Davis.
is not a second-team All-Pro linebacker. I would push it. He's still very good. The Rams told you he wasn't a second-team All-Pro linebacker this weekend. They're going to part ways. An All-Pro linebacker who's making what? Almost half the other top linebackers in football? It's a bargain. If he was an All-Pro linebacker, they'd go, we definitely want him. right? He's not that. He's still very good. He's a guy that I think we look at and go, his name, who he is, the number next to his name as far as tackles is putting him, to me, a little higher. The guy that and Matt Milano, I also love him.
He was first team for the AP.
I know. I do. I don't know. I just don't put him quite in the class of these other guys. I have tremendous respect for his game. And I've been one that's been touting him and Edmonds up there for a while. I just didn't put him in that category. The other guy that I did think about with the second team was Demario Davis. Demario Davis, again, he's old school to me like that. And maybe I'm a little bit more old school in nature that way. I am into, plug the hole, stop the run. And he still can cover. I mean, it's amazing what he's doing. Him and Bobby Wagner, what they're doing at their age is unreal.
So Pete has a good question here. He goes, given how much they play nickel defense now, should the All-Pro team have 5 DBs instead of 3 stand-up linebackers?
It's probably, to be realistic, probably should. Yeah. I mean, there's I think if you just took a random team and said, how many games this year did you start the game in base personnel, right? Where it was 4 linemen, 3 linebackers. I bet you they're going to tell you, when we played the Titans, right? Oh, when we played the 49ers, right? It's going to be like 3 games a year where they're going to go, we played like the best running team in football, so we started base defense that game because they put on the field 2 tight ends and 2 receivers and a tailback to start, so that's how we had to start, right? But I think it's definitely a real thing or a good topic of conversation.
You know the guy. You can just call him up. Just be like,
change the whole process, right? For me, I've only been doing it for a year.
Year 2, I've experienced now, and I put Micah Parsons at the right spot.
Well, the thing that I think we're talking about more importantly is arguably, I think maybe one of the most important positions in football right now is not being represented on the All-Pro team.
Corner.
That nickel corner,
Nickel corner, yes.
Right? That guy that we talk about, whether it's, Mike Hilton for the Bengals or, Jimmy Ward for the 49ers, who we talked about. It was a key to the stopping the Eagles, right? He's going to have to cover the receiver and stop the running game, right? Those type of guys, it's too valuable right now to be left off the team, and I think there's some guys that are worthy of being first-teamers.
And you think it's a different specialized position and not just your third best cornerback?
No,
for a lot of teams.
It's not. No, and even like in the draft, I've had to stop evaluating that way and start going, wait a minute, nickel's a real thing. I can't just go, if he can't play outside, they move him inside. Now you just go, no. Hey, Marcus Jones from New England, right? Yeah. Last year, I made him a top 5 corner because I was like, this guy's going to be the best nickel corner in football in 2 years. So I'm going to put him in my top 5, even though, he can't match up outside with, A.J. Brown. That's not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
But inside, he's going to be amazing. That's a real position. I do think it needs to be reevaluated.
All right, so it's difficult here with the defensive backs and the safeties, certainly with the corners, because there's only 4.
Yeah.
2 first team, 2 second team. Mm-hmm. You went with Sauce Gardner for the Jets, first team. You went with Patrick Surtain, first team. And then you went with your guy, Tyson Campbell, Jacksonville Jaguars, second team with Jair Alexander, last year's under-talked about corner, second team.
Right.
Well.
I don't think, really 3 out of my 4 are not shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people know, Jair, I feel like people started to realize how good he was at the end of the year. Tyson Campbell is, he's a little bit of one of my sim superstars. Again, when it gets in the secondary, I'm not so much into the PFF grade as much as everybody else or the other grades out there. Again, oh, wait, this corner got to play cover 3 and just drop into a third all year long with a great pass rush. Well, his grade is 99.7. Well, he didn't have to do shit except backpedal and not let the guy run by him the whole year. That's what we're gonna make him. We're gonna make him all pro because of that. And then here's another guy that his grade is 82, but he had to lock down the number 1 receiver on the team and follow him around all the field. Right? He didn't just get to drop into the cover 3 zone all game long and have the best pass rush. And we go, well, his grade's not as good. I mean, did you see that play last week? And I go, well, yeah. Did you see who was covering? That's arguably the freakiest guy on the planet. And they're just saying cover him like it's nothing. And, we're going to downgrade it. So secondary, I'm a little different. Tyson Campbell's that guy. Tyson Campbell is the guy that they go, cover him. Oh, he got burnt? Well, yeah, he's got burnt. He's covering the number 1 receiver. He's not burnt. the quarterback just threw a perfect throw and like he was all over it. I think he's phenomenal. So that's where, my safety and corner is going to be a little different because of that.
Yeah, Minkah Fitzpatrick and Kyle Duggar,
right?
First team guys.
Yeah, and I don't even know what Kyle Duggar's rating was. I mean, maybe Pete can tell us how he was looked at from the scouting community, But I just look at what he did for New England, what he was asked to do, and how much he impressed me on a weekly basis. Can cover tight ends, can cover big receivers. He's awesome in the run game. He's a great blitzer. I look at him and go, he's one of the best safeties in football. And
eighth out of 68th on PFF.
Okay. Oh, all right. I guess that makes me feel better.
He would have been on their fourth team.
Yeah, right. But all right. There's then my second team with Budda Baker and Javon Holland. Budda Baker's another guy where it's just a ton on his plate, and he makes that defense go. And I think he's, arguably one of the best tackling safeties in football. It is kamikaze that way. And then Javon Holland goes into our other category. I guarantee his ranking is not good. But, like, Javon Holland, Dolphins, what do we talk about their defense all year? Blitz, everybody blitzing.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, Javon Holland, you're a safety. We got to cover this awesome slot receiver. Nobody's going to help you.
Yeah.
It's a bad grade right there. Well, okay, most defenses in football wouldn't even call that because they would go, our safety can't handle that, so we can't even call it. So he gets downgraded for actually having a better skill set, right? And that's where I do think the narrative needs to get corrected a little bit there.
He was 33rd on PFF's list.
Right. And I would just go, damn, he's in the Chris Sims top 5 safety ranking right now. I mean, and when I watch him, I just go, holy shit, what an unbelievable open field tackle. Holy crap, where did he come from? Wow, what a nice play on the ball. Oh, he got burned because he, is covering Jamar Chase with no help here. Okay, well, damn. All right, yeah, all right. He let up a 20-yard completion. Okay, he was there. But, I mean, what I don't understand is, like, did people not watch Hufanga the last 6-7 weeks of the year? He got first team just because he was like the unknown guy, and early in the year he made some highlight plays. I mean,
he struggled
big time. I would argue nobody let up more big plays down the last 6-7 weeks of the year than Hufanga. You know me, I watch the Niners like it's like my religion. I don't never miss a snap of the Niners. So I did not get that one. Derwin James and Justin Simmons are awesome.
They made second team for the AP.
Yeah, they're really awesome. I didn't put them in the category of the other two this year for what they did.
And Jordan Poyer, he did make the Pro Bowl over Duggar and Holland.
Yeah. See, that's a names thing. And it's crazy is what it is. It's crazy.
So that's your team, right? Do you get to do it again next year?
I think so. They didn't fire me. Not that I've been told yet.
How many people vote for that? Do you have any idea?
I think it's 50.
50. All right. P says 50. You say 50. Okay.
So,
all right.
Yep.
So it is, though. I mean, 50 in the whole football community.
It's a great honor. I was like, it's very cool to do. And I appreciate being a part of it. I do. And I do think it's, a little bit of like, hey, this guy's been around here for a while and he does a pretty good job and follows the league. And, I'll give myself a pat on the back to go, hey, okay, things are going in the right direction if people value me a little bit.
You know me. I'm the #1 Chris Sims stan. So there was no one that looks at more film and studies more players than you as an analyst. I would put you up against anyone. So I think there is no one more qualified to do that job, and hopefully you do it for years to come. I don't know what's more high status, though. Getting on the Chris Sims All-Pro team or being on the Ahmed's under-talked-about team.
Not even close. Not even close. You win that battle.
So we got 4 guys on offense, 4 guys on defense. Some of these guys we've already talked about.
Yeah, good.
Which is we have the same brain now.
Well, you're starting to see we're starting to see things the same way.
Infiltrated my brain.
I have. Damn it.
Only
in some things. There's other things I'm still trying to infiltrate.
Let's start on the offensive line here. Falcons right guard Chris Lindstrom. You already mentioned him. He had an awesome year. And I mean, an Atlanta Falcons team that really had a hard time, throwing the ball.
Right. You
one
knew they were
dimensional.
going to run it, and they were like,
still
run it.
Still did it.
Right.
Algier had over 1,000 yards, and he was a big part of this.
That's what I'm talking about, right? It's like that to me has such great value. Oh, I mean, it's just like, we know you're going to run it right here, and we got 9 guys right here, and damn, you moved 2 of them out of the way. And that to me puts you on another level than, You know, maybe just the guy who's just getting it done or getting a good grade all the time.
He did end the year with a good grade, though. He was PFF's highest offensive lineman graded.
Yeah, I'm not shocked.
Ever. That's why like a 95, right?
Hey,
I don't think I'm overstating that. I think PFF gave him the highest grade ever.
He's baller. Best guard in the game for me right now.
Which I do think. And like you made all the good points on why some things may be overlooked or misgraded. I think you do take a whole season-long sample. Some of those get worked out. You know, any individual game you look at a grade, you're like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But through a season-long sample,
usually equals out. You're right.
Usually can equal out.
It does.
Also on the offensive line, my right tackle, talked about, Penei Sewell.
Oh,
my guy.
Shocker. A Detroit Lion made the list?
And I know, it's like we've talked about him, and he's a generational talent coming out of the draft, but he was a late add to the Pro Bowl, did not make it to start. And he's just a 22-year-old guy who Frank Ragnow says he is a tackle we create game plans for. He is a weapon. So I think a lot of the talk coming out of the draft was, who are you going to take, him or Jamar Chase? And we all know Jamar Chase. He is a superstar in the league. I'm making the case that maybe Penei Sewell is almost in that same category.
Yeah, he's a superstar. And he ain't going anywhere. And don't be shocked if you see him on the All-Pro team next year. I mean, don't. He's definitely projecting that way, you know. And you know, again, you just see not only the size, you saw the athletic ability with him motioning and all of that. I mean, yeah, we're talking about a guy that's the staple for the right side of your line for a long time.
A staple on the talked about team for Ahmed Fareed, quarterback. Kirk Cousins. So not that he's not talked about, because I think a lot of times he is talked about in a negative way. But I will always stick up for Kirk Cousins, because I think a lot of the problems get pinned on Kirk Cousins for the Vikings.
I would agree.
He is not usually the problem. 4th most passing yards of any quarterback in the NFL this year. 5th most touchdowns. He had the 3rd most first downs, so moving the chains with that offense. I mean, they've had a good offense for a long time. He had the most pressures and took the most quarterback hits of any quarterback in the NFL. And if you want to talk about quarterback wins, which it seems like people do want to talk about that a lot, he was tied for 3rd with Josh Allen this year. So I think Kirk Cousins doesn't get the love that he deserves.
He does not. He does not, because he's not like a superstar, doesn't have an elite trait, but he can play the position. And yes, some of the things he does get overlooked by, you know, the public on a every week, you know, basis, or my Mike Florio, you know, showmate on PFT. But, you know, to add to what you're saying, they weren't a great running team this year. And, yeah, their interior O-line can't protect. They have 2 good tackles who are great on the edge, but he always has people in his face. And what I would add even more to yours, it ain't dink and dunk when we watch him play. They're aggressive. They throw the ball down the field. So, yeah, he's not going to be Mahomes or Allen and get on my back. I'm going to scramble around and make all these crazy plays and throws. But if you just give him a little chance, he'll take advantage of it. And I'm with you. That's good for you to put him on the list.
And I do think he should get some of the credit for the development of Justin Jefferson, too.
Sure.
Comes in as a rookie and tears it up, and now he's one of the best in the league. I mean, Justin Jefferson has a lot to do with that, too.
Yeah,
but Kirk Cousins is a part of that.
I don't disagree.
And my final player on the offensive side for the talked about team, running back, Aaron Jones. We've talked about him in the past, but I don't know if we talked about him enough this year. He had 5.3 yards per attempt. That was the highest for a running back with over 150 carries this year. That was more than Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Tony Pollard, who gets a lot of love now.
Right.
Finally, I almost put Tony Pollard on the list, but I was like, I think he's finally getting the love now.
Yeah, he finally got it.
He had a career high, did Aaron Jones, in rushing yards. He had a career high in receptions this year. He, like, for an offense that struggled to throw the ball, Aaron Jones in a lot of ways carried them.
Capitalized. Was the biggest playmaker on their football team this year. You know, some ways proved me wrong for sure, as far as, like, you know, just has a more of a physicality and kamikaze style of play than maybe I gave him credit for. Not a real big guy, but, man, he brings it. And, yeah, screens or give him a seam on the edge of the offense, he's a home run hitter. That's where he's special. And, yeah, he made the most of it. I mean, because, like you said, he shared some carries with what's his name, big guy from Boston College this year.
Dillon.
Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, he was an impressive. That was a big time year, and they just restructured his contract, right? I think they lowered his cap number a little bit just to keep him around, which they need him. You know, like we said, he's one of the few guys there, him and Watson, that I look at right now that I say he can do more than what the playbook says, right? He's capable of making some individual things happen to help the team out.
So the Packers like, we're keeping the most important Aaron around here. We're going to keep Aaron Jones, lock him up for many years to come. Over on the defensive side, 2 names you already mentioned here. The Jaguars linebacker Foye Oluokun.
Yep.
Who I think maybe doesn't get the love because people don't know how to say his last name.
Well,
I'm not sure I'm
and he
saying
was
it
in
right.
Atlanta, and he's in Jacksonville, and he went to Yale. Like, if he went to Alabama and he was on another team, we'd all be going, this Oluokun's the best linebacker in football. But because he doesn't have that hype behind him, people don't know about it yet.
Yeah, 27-year-old, former 6th-round pick by Atlanta out of Yale, as you mentioned. 2nd year in a row that he's led the NFL in combined tackles. Also led in solo tackles this year. He is just always around the ball and delivering some huge blows, too. He's a hard hitter.
No doubt.
Another Jaguar also here, Tyson Campbell.
Look at you. Look
Sim's
at you.
favorite.
See, though?
Can you believe? I mean, like, I'm looking at that. I paused because I was thinking, we talked so much about the Jacksonville Jaguars and Doug Peterson and Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence. This is his coming out party, and it's like, well, maybe we're starting to see that the defense had something to do with that too.
Definitely. I mean, that secondary's got some ballers. They do. I think when you talk about Andre Cisco and oh damn, I just blanked on his Rashawn Jenkins, right? So you'll look at that and you go, ooh, wow, there's some young talent there that can be dangerous. And I'm looking at this right now. I must have missed this, but 5th best cornerback in the NFL according to a vote by the players.
Yeah,
I did not see that.
Yeah,
I've been paying attention to those a little bit and seeing them when they come out. I missed that, but okay, that says something. Okay, PFF, I'm shocked he was top 10 there. I thought he'd be less than that just because, like I said, it's put in some really tough man-to-man situations. But man, I'm a huge fan of what he is. He's an island corner, and you know me, I put those guys in a higher regard.
The problem is, though, if the players are talking about him, if you're talking about him, he's going to be over-talked about here pretty soon. He won't be able to make this team, which would be a problem for him. Defensive end, edge. We're going Commanders. Montez Sweat. He was 9th this year, according to PFF. Tied for 4th in the NFL at that position in quarterback hits, and was one of the, they have that pass rush win rate. How often do you get around your guy, and maybe you don't get to the quarterback, but you win that battle with the offensive lineman? He was one of the top ones in the NFL this year.
It's a brilliant pick by you here. Yes. This is one of the most undervalued, under-the-radar defensive players in football. Gets a little overshadowed because of some of the big names on his defensive side. There's a second pick of the draft in Chase Young. But I think we've been consistent in the last 2 years. Even before Chase Young got hurt, I know I was on here and on PFT going, Montez Sweat is the best pass rusher on the Washington football team. And he is going to be interesting, right? Daron Payne's a free agent. He, I believe, is coming up. I think he might be a free agent. And then you got to have Chase Young on the radar. I think Montez Sweat could be the number one reason Chase Young doesn't get an early second contract or whatever. They got some juggling to do there. I certainly would not let Montez Sweat out the door very easy.
Yeah.
He's good in everything. He's good against the run. And, yeah, those measurables and how long and explosive he is, I have a hard time thinking he won't last the test of time here and hang around a little, for a good amount of time more in his football career.
Yeah, you mentioned Daron Payne is a free agent.
Yeah.
Probably going to get franchise tag there. So, yeah, some decisions to make for the Commanders. Now they got the pressure of having a under-talked about guy here, too. Like, don't talk him up. He'll want more money.
Raise the price.
He'll want more money.
Cha-ching.
One more guy we go defensive tackle here. We're going to give some love to the Panthers defensive tackle, Derek Brown, who had a couple of disappointing years. And I think sometimes what happens there is that if you're like, oh, he's a bust. He wasn't what we thought he would be. And then you stop paying attention to him. And I think this year he had a really good year. And
amazing year.
Pro Football Focus had him as the most improved player for the Carolina Packers this year. He was actually their 3rd highest run defensive grade behind Sexy Dexy and Chris Jones. Had a career high in stops, and so maybe he's finally realizing that potential that a lot of people saw in him.
Yeah. It wasn't bad the first 2 years. It just wasn't good. It wasn't top 10 of the pick, draft type of good. He became a force of nature this year and a one-man wrecking crew. And definitely when you turn on Carolina Panthers film, he popped every week. And I think it's kind of funny, and I know we talked about it during the year, just the amount of good D tackles and good D linemen in the game right now. But I think there's a real correlation to, like, you look at the top defenses in football, the D tackle thing is almost right where you look at a lot of the time. They go, well, yeah, okay, those guys are there. That's tough. And, yeah, he's amazing, and he's a building block there in Carolina for the future.
Ahead of the curve with the Big Butt Awards that we will get to after we give out our Peter Awards. Are these the same? So, Pete, is this what you gave to Chris for his All-Pro team here, too? So these are the similar names here. Yep. So Chris and Pete are in unison. In giving these Peter of the Year awards. Punter, that goes to the Chiefs. Tommy Townsend, most underrated weapon on the champ, says Pete. Best net average, second longest hang time in the NFL this season.
Right. And it was, if I can remember right away, it was him and the guy from the Tennessee Titans, right? Yeah.
And the Titans guy was often, nothing against him, but seemed to be out kicking his coverage, right? Didn't have the hang time of Townsend.
No doubt. Those are the little nuances that I leaned on Pete, and there's value to them. So when Pete started to, like, kind of explain some of those stats to me, I was like, oh, yeah, well, then, yeah, I want Tommy Townsend. That's the guy you want there.
Did he get first team then?
I believe he did.
Okay.
I believe he did get, but
mission
yes.
accomplished for you guys.
Well, I mean, hey, net average, of course, is always important. But, yeah, hang time is probably about as important as it gets. I mean, just ask the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. A low-hanging punt won them the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when it becomes dangerous in the NFL. And you usually see with those type of punters, the Chiefs, I'm just thinking off the top of my head right now, I don't remember anybody returning a punt against them this year. And that's because that group was down there already ready to tackle by the time the guys are catching the ball.
The next three, are these all Flyers, Pete? Not all Flyers, but they're all involved in special teams. So the next one here, this is a Flyer. The Jets corner, Justin Hardy.
Flyer.
Tied for third in special teams tackles this season. Did it while getting the crap knocked out of him every single play as a Flyer. He goes the most underrated job in the NFL.
It is. I mean, you see like a guy like Matthew Slater, how like valuable he's been to the Patriots for such a long time. There's a little bit more nuance to the position and doing it than I think people realize. There's some coaching and you know, hey, we want you to get down there and force the guy to go this way, you know, so the rest of the guys can make the tackle. And if you can make the tackle in doing that, please do. But, yeah, I mean, Hardy became a marked man. I feel like he kind of made a name for himself, you know, about halfway through the year. And then you become, oh, wait, they're doing double team you every time you punt the football. And then that's where it's another skill set. To be able to also have the combination of strength and speed to fight through the double teams all the time and still make tackles, yeah, that's special. It was a hell of a year. Some of the crazy Jet fans in our viewing rooms on Sunday were the ones that certainly pointed me out to Justin Hardy on a lot of weekly basis.
And I love that players like him are getting some love because I was around Virginia Tech football for a few years, and they had Beamer ball. Right. Which was one of the coolest things in college football. It was like Frank Beamer, he loved special teams, and you thought once every other game they were going to have a huge play on special teams that would change the game.
Definitely.
And when those plays happen, as you just mentioned, in the Super Bowl, they're huge. I mean, they're game-altering plays. You can almost affect a game on special teams even more than you can on offense and defense sometimes.
We overlook it a lot when we talk about the breakdowns of football games.
Another stud on special teams, commander safety Jeremy Reeves, fifth-year veteran who hustles his ASS off. Pete puts in here. He was first-team All-Pro, deserved it. I think we all saw out there the emotional
that was awesome when Ron
exchange.
Rivera told him that he won.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was very cool. I mean, tackles, spotting the ball, diving in the end zone, saving balls. You know, he was a guy that Pete, again, put on my radar, you know, pretty early on in the football season. And when we got towards the end of the year, I kind of got sick of hearing talking about him all the time.
Like, I got it.
But
a message received.
Just, you know, guys like this have great value to a football team. Yeah, backup secondary football player, can do some things there. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is his main gig right here. And he helped out the Commanders in this department.
One more. It is a long snapper.
Oh, baby.
The Vikings, Andrew DePaula. Sorry, we should have practiced that before. What an honor we've butchered your name. Andrew, congratulations. He was also first-team All-Pro. Good snapper, but Pete notes, shines because he books it downfield and makes tackles.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what separates this position right there. Is just that, all these guys snap the ball. It's not that big of a difference between the best snapper and the worst snapper.
Yeah.
It's about, who can get down there, who has the speed to get out of that position, get down the field, and then be somewhat of a threat to make the tackles, right? DiPaola, I think I got that right.
Yeah.
He's as good as
payola.
He's good, and I can't even remember. There was another snapper we had in the running, Pete. I can't remember off the top of my head, but all in all, he was deserving of it and got not only the Peter Awards, but the first-team All-Pro award.
And Pete wants to make all of his children long snappers. That's his goal.
That's his goal.
Life.
Hey, there's a career to be had there. There's no doubt. And they protect you now. They can't line up over you and break your neck anymore. Yeah. A lot of positives there. You can play forever, right? I had a kid in college I played with. He never really played on the team. He was our fourth tight end. And he went to the Minnesota Vikings and was a snapper there for 10, 12 years. Outlasted all these freaks of nature we had at Texas. He played longer than everybody.
And no one would give him the time of day probably in the locker room when he was in college.
He was a good dude. He was a good dude.
All right, we're going to get to the third annual Homies Choice Awards in 1 second. But first, the final Big Butt of the Year Awards.
Woo!
It is that time.
Big butts and we cannot lie.
The Big Butt of the Week.
Oh.
Time to give some love to these big guys.
Some tushes.
There's a couple sacks, forced fumble.
He's a butt-ting superstar. Woo! Give it to him, Ahmed.
One butt cheek.
And this is why you're the big butt expert of the world right now. Woo!
It's sad we're not going to hear that song for a few months now.
I know.
It's the end of an era.
You know what? Maybe that should be your job for the weekend.
What's that?
Who's got the best big butt of the combine?
Oh, you're right.
Give me the look. Give me,
Big butt of the combine.
Big butt of the combine. Who looked really good in their spandex? That's what you're gonna.
We will hear that song again.
And if you can, film yourself watching for this reason while your wife is watching you. Going, wait, what do you evaluate? Well, honey, look at his butt in this spandex.
Here you go. And she goes, I already saw. We'll have
looking.
We'll have my kids film that.
Yeah.
Good idea. All right, so second team, defensive tackle, Big Butt of the Year. We're going to give that to Dexter Lawrence of the Giants.
Yep.
He won the weekly award 2 times, 1 time in the regular season, 1 time in the playoffs. As you mentioned, too, made Kirk Cousins throw short and get ridiculed.
Yeah.
And so he is my second team
Literally
guy.
the biggest butt maybe in football, and figuratively one of the best Big Butt of the Year award players we got.
Second team edge might be kind of a shock.
I am a little surprised here.
I gave it to Jalen Phillips of the Miami Dolphins. He was the only 2-time winner of the weekly award at edge on the season. I guess I spread it around quite a bit. I didn't realize that.
You did.
Won it once in the regular season, once in the playoffs. He had the most pressures by a Dolphin in over a decade, and he was third amongst edge in tackles, so effective in the run game as well. So some love to Jalen Phillips out there.
Hey, there's a reason. We were talking about him a lot coming out in the draft 2 years ago, and we were trying to tell people he was the best pass rusher in that draft.
Yeah,
he's a superstar, Ahmed. He is a superstar, and he is on the trajectory of I'm going to be one of the 5 best pass rushers in football and make somewhere close to $30 million a year here in the next few years.
Think of that team with Chubb and Jalen Phillips.
Oh my gosh,
Christian Wilkins, the secondary they have.
They're going to have first world problems is figuring out how to keep all those talented young players they got.
Team on the rise.
Yeah.
And now it is time for the Big Butt of the Year award winner at defensive tackle. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. You just won a Super Bowl, but now you have won the biggest award of your life. Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, a 5-time winner of the weekly award, including in the divisional round, the AFC Championship, and the Super Bowl, the 3 that you want to win it in. Chris Jones, congratulations. You are the Big Butt at defensive tackle.
Oh, way to go. We gave him a lot of praise all year long.
All year long.
It was the first year in, 7 years or so that there was somebody not named Aaron Donald that was known as the best defensive tackle in football, and it was this guy right here. He's been probably second in football for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 really. But this year he was clearly the guy, and we saw a number of marquee moments throughout the year and in the playoffs, of course, in big moments. He's a star. He's a difference maker, and yeah, be interesting. I got to look at him. He's a type of guy with what he got paid a few years ago and the way he's playing. They're going to have to worry about his contract probably in the next year or so too.
One thing we know, he does have an elephant butt award trophy now in his trophy case for Edge. So I gave it to Jalen Phillips, second team. So you're like, who is he going to give it to for first team?
What a cheater.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Big Butt Award winner of the year at Edge is a tie. Nick Bosa from the 49ers and Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys. Pete's booing in our ear. It's my award. I can do whatever I want to do. It was impossible to separate the two, and so I didn't do it.
Yeah,
I just gave it to both of them.
It's racial harmony, too. You got one white butt, one black butt.
Exactly.
We can merge them together and make one there. That's great.
Nick Bosa led in quarterback hits by a pretty good margin this year, and then Micah Parsons led in pressures and hurries by a lot. So, I mean, they both had awesome years. They both deserve an elephant rear trophy.
With T.J. Watt being hurt this year, Joey Bosa, being hurt, I just think these two were clearly the best. Like, Bosa's the best defensive edge player in the game. I think,
like
pass
one
rusher,
game, who do you want?
Game, right, I'm taking him.
Yeah.
Micah's the greatest front seven athlete in the game right now, and he's not as great of a pass rusher as Nick Bosa as far as all the things he can offer to an offensive tackle and his skill set, but his explosive ability is so off the charts that you're just like, he only needs two moves. That's all he needs, because it's so real how quick he can get off the ball, turn the corner, handle a little weight on his frame, even though he's 248 pounds or whatever. They're both amazing, but just amazing in a little bit of a different way. So, okay, I'm cool with you splitting their butt up there.
Had to do it. They each get one cheek.
Yeah.
We'll split the trophy in half. One cheek to Nick Bosa, the other to Micah Parsons. All right, so now we finish with the third annual Homies Choice Award. So you tweeted out a ballot out here. We got 361 responses. Well done, homies.
It's a little weak for our group.
You wanted more?
We've had these type of votes that go into the thousands before, but I think everybody already hit the off-season Super Bowl mode last week, and they didn't get involved.
So a reminder that unlike the NFL awards, these awards do include playoff performance.
Yeah.
Not just the regular season.
Right.
So that could totally change who wins the MVP here, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. Patrick Mahomes, congratulations. You are the Homies Choice Award winner. 83% of the vote to him. Second place, your guy Jalen Hurts with 6% of the votes.
Yeah, I understand that. I certainly do. Wouldn't have been mine, but I got no problem with this list here. I think those are the guys that you would look at. I know we had a few others receiving votes as well.
Yeah, some write-in candidates. The Eagles O-line got a vote.
Yeah.
Mike Florio got a vote.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, come on. We're better than that. Don't vote for him, homies. Come on. What are you doing?
Yeah, I wonder if he has a vote. If he has a vote in every one of these categories, we know that just Mike got a hold of it.
It might have been Mike.
Voted for himself there. Patrick Mahomes, congratulations, Homie of the Year, MVP award winner. Offensive Player of the Year, according to the Homies, this one goes to Justin Jefferson, 48% of the vote. Patrick Mahomes, second, 21%. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, third. I went with Travis Kelce here, who got 9% of the votes.
Yeah.
I think you could make the case. You never want to give it to the MVP guy again, which I feel like we should sort these awards out a little bit.
Right.
Because if you're the MVP of the league, I mean, you're also the offensive player of the league, too, but people don't like to give it to the same guy twice, which I get. You should almost make the MVP ineligible to receive the award. Maybe
I agree.
We do that next year.
Agree with that.
Whoever you voted for MVP, you can't vote for offensive player. But yeah, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
the top choice for the Homies.
I don't have any problem with that. I think what I'm more shocked at is that Tyreek Hill didn't get more votes.
Yeah,
and that the Homies, there's no AJ Brown on here.
Oh yeah,
that's where I'd go. What? I think A.J. Brown did more with the ball than anybody in the sport. I think he caught more balls that were improbable to catch than anybody in the sport. Maybe Justin Jefferson did. I think he caught more 50-50 balls. I mean, he has some numbers To me, him and Tyreek Hill, nobody changed their teams more. I'm not saying their year was better than Justin Jefferson. He's totally, but I'm just so shocked that they weren't two guys that changed their teams more than those two. Direct correlation. Again, 88 receptions for 1496, 17 yards per reception, and he has another number one on the other side of the field, and they had the best running game in football. Like, if they don't have the best running game in football and maybe just a good number two, what the are his stats going to be? Like, that's where I just go, I think the homies are missing out on his value and Tyreek Hill's value to the Dolphins just a little.
Lane Johnson got 1 vote. That would be great one of these years, right? Wouldn't that be awesome if an offensive lineman won Offensive Player of the Year?
It would be. It really would.
Not going to happen in our lifetime, but maybe our kids could live to see it.
If there could be like a left tackle or a right tackle who plays in some crazy division where there's like great pass rushers and has a crazy pass rusher and he gives up no sacks all year.
Yeah.
Maybe to be that type of thing.
You shut down a guy like Nick Bosa, who is the Defensive Player of the Year, according to the homies. So they had to make a choice. They chose Nick Bosa, 42% of the vote. Chris Jones, second, 29%. Then you got Micah Parsons at 13%. And then Hassan Reddick at 12%. That probably checks out.
Yeah, that's hard to disregard that group right there. That's pretty strong, and I think we're in agreement that the top 3 guys to me were clearly the top 3 guys. That's for sure. Bosa, Jones, and Parsons were a little bit of a class of their own for my money.
Also receiving votes, you got Patrick Surtain in there. You got Max Crosby, Quinnen Williams, and you also had one for the king of the big butts, Ahmed Fareed.
Wow,
I got one.
Wow. Well, that's okay. Yep, he is the king of the big butts. He doesn't have a big butt himself, but he is the king of it.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll grow into it. Defensive or offensive rookie of the year. This one was tough for me. Going through these, I was like, who am I? Because I do like Kenneth Walker, and he is the winner, according to the homies. And this is different than the AP award, which went to Garrett Wilson, who got the second most votes by the homies. So it was 30% for Kenneth Walker, 27% for Garrett Wilson, Brock Purdy third at 25%. And you got Chris Olave, Isaiah Pacheco, and Tyler Algier. Yeah, there were some good ones. A good year for some skilled players on the offensive side, rookies.
We had some rookie. Kenny Pickett, what a year he had. Damian Pierce, right, the running back for the Texans. I see Tyler Smith, the tackle for the Cowboys. Christian Watson, George Pickens, they all received votes. There was some studs in this rookie class. I was one that I was. Brock Purdy won my rookie offensive player of the year, and I put Kenneth Walker second. I think with Garrett Wilson third. Honestly, Purdy, what he did at quarterback. I know the team was good. He's still a quarterback who was expecting to be a third stringer, and to come in and do that, and then really kind of, I don't know, make the offense look as good as it's looked in 3 years. That's what we're talking about here. And then Kenneth Walker. I don't think when you saw him get healthy in week 3 or whatever, I don't think there was any there's it wasn't a shock to me or their success of their offense exploded because of him. And I think, as we've talked about during the year, physically his skill set is as good as the top running backs in football. He's superstar all over him.
I think I went with Chris Olave, if I remember correctly. Olave? He got 9% of the homies' votes here, just because I thought Garrett Wilson won it, but I don't think they had too different of years.
No,
really.
They
Garrett
did not.
Wilson and Chris Olave.
No, you're right. Wilson, I think, had the New York media behind him.
Yeah,
he himself is a little bit more boisterous and talks to the media a little bit more, and I think that added to his overall flair as a person, gave him a little bit notoriety in that department.
Maybe it helped Sauce Gardner too, because he won the Defensive Rookie of the Year, according to our homies, and this vote was not even close. 74% for him. Aiden Hutchinson, I did vote for my guy Aiden. I'm a good Detroit Lions fan. 16% of the vote, and then Tariq Woolen with 7% of the vote.
Yeah, Sauce, to me, this should be closer. Sauce, to me, is a little... and again, he's not overrated. He's being overrated a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't think Aiden Hutchins is getting enough credit for what he did, would be my first thing. Tariq Woolen, it's awesome to see him get love because, again, for that guy and what he did at the Combine to be the first thing he jumped on the scene and then capitalized that was amazing. But, Hutchinson is the play-up guy. And he is disruptive that way, to where he shoots through gaps and wins with quickness, like we talked about in the draft process, where he gets through there. He might not make the tackle, but he ruined the play, right? Let alone the interceptions, some of that. He can do everything. Sauce, awesome, but a little bit does benefit from the things I talked about at corner earlier. It's a lot of cover 3. It's a great pass rush. Again, I want to make this clear. He's awesome. I'm just saying sometimes that gets a little pushed higher than it should, and I think that's maybe a case.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Life is a little easier for him than some other corners out there.
I'm saying, yes. He's not getting put in some of the positions that some of the other ones are getting put in.
Not that he couldn't handle it.
He's showed me he can. It's just not, he doesn't do it as much as they do. And then, of course, as we talked about all year, that Jets pass rush is ferocious.
Some other guys who got some votes out there: George Karlaftis, Jalen Watson, Jaquan Brisker, Trent McDuffie, and your guy, Kayvon Thibodeau. Take that, Chris Sims.
Yes. Take that.
Coach of the Year. This one went to Brian Daboll, and the homies agree, but this was very close in voting. It was Brian Daboll, 28% of the homies' votes, and then the guy I voted for, Kyle Shanahan, second, 26% of the votes.
Yeah, I voted for him too.
Kyle?
I went Shanahan. I did. I went Shanahan. I had Daboll 2, Doug Peterson 3. I mean, it was so hard, really, even with Daboll and Doug Peterson there. And I'm not. Daboll certainly deserving. I guess, again, Shanahan, I just look at like what we talked about a little bit with Brock Purdy. It's a third stringer, and no, not only did they we don't have to manage the offense exploded. And then not only are wow, we're just finding ways to win games with our third stringer. No, they were dominating teams like we talked about. That's where, I'm amazed by it. And I don't know, I guess there's a part of me too that thinks Shanahan should have won it in 2019 when John Harbaugh, the Ravens won it over him. So, yeah, I gave Shanahan the vote. I know I'm probably a little biased in that department, but certainly not mad to see Daboll win it.
And here's an indication that the homies were taking the playoffs into account, too. Andy Reid.
Yeah.
15%. He was the third highest vote getter. Can't argue with that. You won the whole thing. That was the goal.
Right. The way they responded after Mahomes got hurt against Jacksonville.
I mean, totally.
The way the chippiness they played with against the Bengals, and then an all-time game plan to beat a team that's better than you in the Super Bowl. Yes, he should have been bumped up after that playoffs.
I mean, you can make an argument for Andy Reid being up there amongst the top coaches that have ever coached.
He's definitely in that conversation. Definitely. With that last win, he was already Hall of Fame coach, right? Now, to me, he went into the upper echelon Hall of Fame coach. He's now, we're talking about the Tom Landrys of the world, and the Bill Walshes and the Chuck Knowles and all those. I mean, he's to me in that. And I'm not saying he's above them, but greatest coaches in the history of the league, 2 different teams, right?
That's the thing for me.
Multiple, Super Bowl appearance with both teams, multiple with one team in the midst of a dynasty that's still going. Yeah. He's up there.
The thing for me is that he's done it in different situations, right? He's been very, very good. Super Bowl team with Donovan McNabb.
Right.
They were very, very good with the Chiefs and Alex Smith.
Yeah.
And now they're very, very good with Patrick Mahomes. And so it's like that. Not every coach has had their peaks with that many different quarterbacks and styles.
No, it's almost like, his Eagles career probably wasn't a Hall of Fame career, but it was close. It's I was going to say how you can say Tom Brady had 2 Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah.
I mean, if Andy Reid just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, you'd go, he had 2 Hall of Fame careers with 2 different football teams. He doesn't get that probably because in Philadelphia he lost a Super Bowl and then lost 4 other NFC Championship games to get to the Super Bowl. That hurt that, but he's making up for it now.
So some others receiving votes, Jeff Saturday, and then they go, LOL, just kidding, Brian Daboll. So I don't know if we counted that one or not. And then Pete Demolitis got a vote as well.
Pete. Look at Pete voting for himself.
Some good
on his
homies.
own.
Good homies out there making us feel good. Yeah. They got close to spelling the name correctly. Breakout Player of the Year. So this is what Pete has done here because we've complained about this. It's like Comeback Player of the Year and Breakout Player of the Year. They're really 2 different things, right? Comeback Player of the Year, it's like if you weren't hurt last year, you just sat the bench. Did you really come back? You were there.
Right.
You just didn't play. So we've separated it. Breakout Player of the Year, and the homies have chosen Geno Smith for this one. The haters were writing. He didn't write back. 41%. 41% of the votes out there go to Geno. Second was Dexter Lawrence at 17%. Hufanga, 14% for the 49ers. Then Josh Jacobs, 13%. I would have thought he might get a little more love. Josh Jacobs seems like he was left for dead. But you really can't argue with Geno Smith, the homies pick.
No, it's hard. I actually like what the guys did. The top 2 picks there. You know, for Dexter to break out the way he did and jump into the best defensive tackle convo. But, yeah, Geno in that year it was a special year and good for Geno. And he was my comeback player of the year with my AP voting. If they broke it down this way, yeah, I would have made him breakout player. And then I probably would have made comeback player of the year Saquon Barkley over McCaffrey. McCaffrey was awesome. Don't get me wrong, right? You know, but, like, I think that Saquon Barkley could have done what McCaffrey did if he was on the 49ers football team? Of course I do.
So this is what the homies voted. This was the closest vote by the homies, too, for the comeback player of the year, and it was Christian McCaffrey just by 1 percentage point, 43% of the vote over Saquon Barkley, who got 42% of the vote.
What about you there? You got to say, like, where you would have leaned on that one?
Who did I vote for there? I think I voted for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, you think so?
Saquon Barkley there for the reasons you mentioned, right? It was like I don't think Christian McCaffrey. I mean, it's so close, right? Who knows?
He was awesome.
I do want to say though that for the breakout player of the year, we had our most write-ins for a player in that category. Tony Pollard got 15 write-ins for the breakout player of the year, and that's a good check by the homies out there.
Definitely. Yeah. You said it earlier in the pod. I think everybody saw. You and I were laughing at the midway point of the year when we were watching, like some people on TV were trying to go, the key to their offense is Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, remember he missed a game and people were like, they didn't have Zeke. And I want to be like, they didn't have the water boy either. Who the cares? What are you talking about? Like what? They didn't have a 2-yard run up the middle? Like what was everybody watching? What's everybody talking about? Damn, it sucks that Pollard got hurt like that.
Well,
it really does.
It goes in the beginning of the year. They got to lean on Zeke, and then at the end of the year, it's like, oh, they would have won if they had Tony Pollard. If he hadn't gotten hurt, which maybe they would have. All right, our final one for the homies here. The damn okay performance of the year. We gave you a lot of plays out there, and ultimately, I would say a bit of a landslide here with all the different plays. A quarter of the votes.
Yeah.
Go to Justin Jefferson, his Week 10 performance at Buffalo. That really does stand out. 193 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. That got 24% of the vote. Beating out Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl was 16% of the vote.
Oh, it's like, hey, I'm Justin Jefferson. That game, that's still one of the most amazing games of the year.
Great catch,
and those plays there. Where I just, there was 3 or 4 plays in the late third, fourth quarter where it was just like, just throw it up. He'll catch it. And that's where it got to. And yeah, that was a huge game. They were down, 27-10 maybe, I think, in Buffalo, something like that. So I'm with you there. Now, I couldn't disagree with the homies more about that second performance. I couldn't. I couldn't disagree more. And you know that. And I'm not going to hold back again. There's no way that was the second best performance of the year. Sorry.
NBC says that we have
the
to
two
stop the
1-inch
podcast.
rushing touchdowns, the monumental fumble in the second quarter, the advantage of the game that was not taken advantage of. Listen, we know the Eagles' D was good. We knew Mahomes was good. We knew there was going to be a chance that the Chiefs' offense would be able to move the ball against the Eagles' defense. We knew that. What we didn't know was, could the Chiefs ever stop the Eagles? That was the question anybody had in the game. It's why all the Fox analysts picked the Eagles to win by 10 points before the game, right? A fumble, a 3-and-out, and 2 field goal drives. The best offense in football couldn't do that against a non-top 10 defense. There's no way that was one of the best performances of the year, homies. Come on.
Pete, we needed a trigger
See ya.
warning. We needed a trigger warning
Boom.
right there. But
Yeah.
you should be glad that the homies put Patrick Mahomes 182 yards in the Super Bowl as third.
Yeah.
Just 3 percentage points behind
Right.
that.
I don't know if I agree with that
Jalen
either
Hurts.
as far as the damn okay performance of the year.
I voted for the one that's number 4 here. I voted for Tua's 469 passing yards and 6 touchdowns.
That was a
Baltimore.
moment.
Now, of course, that Baltimore messed some things up there.
Yeah.
I mean, but the dude threw for almost 500 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, that was a moment, certainly. That was the moment the Tua coming out party where we're like, oh, crap, the Dolphins might have something here. Damn, they're kind of dangerous, and holy crap, they're fun to watch, too. I think that was up there. It certainly was. I feel like I'm missing one that I thought of the other day, and I can't think about it right now. But either way, that's good enough. Yeah.
Some others receiving votes were Dak in the wild card, Kirk Cousins against the Colts, that comeback game.
Yeah, that was pretty freaking amazing.
Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, wild card. Trevor Lawrence when he came back from 4 picks.
That was
pretty good.
That was amazing. There really was.
And also receiving votes. This happened at the Super Bowl during Super Bowl week. Chris Sims somehow not injuring himself when falling off the stage. Performance of the year.
Thank you.
Damn okay.
Thank you very
That
much.
is it. I mean, most mortal people would have broken a bone, maybe sprained an ankle.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm
twisted
okay.
a wrist.
I'm okay. Not a problem. Look at all my concerned NBC working fellas. There's Florio looking. Oh yeah, he fell. There's Matt Casey just laughing at me. Ha ha! You fell, you jerk.
Yeah, Mike laughed.
Gosh.
Matt Casey pointed.
Only the guy who made the stage came to help me because he was worried that I was going to get mad at him for making the stage not good
What was
enough.
not seen there though is that after Mike just looked at you and laughed,
He drank his water?
He grabbed for water.
Yeah, I know.
I was
right.
like, I'm thirsty.
Right.
And I was like, oh, is he getting that for Chris? It's like, no, he's parched. So well done, homies.
Way to go,
Thanks for
homies.
participating. We're not mad at you. We wish more of the homies maybe would have participated, but you know what?
Yeah, it's a weird time of the
361,
year.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's hey, I was on vacation. I can't sit there and be mad at anybody for not participating. So I'm not mad at you.
You're getting red as a lobster.
I think it's a good way, and it's a good thing that we did this here the Monday before the Combine. It kind of puts a close to the 2022 season.
Yep.
We kind of discussed that. Now we move forward, and it's on to the next thing. And we'll be all about free agency, the draft, all that coming to a theater near you on a weekly basis, twice a week. And you and I will be back on what, Thursday? Are we back on Thursday this week? I don't even know.
No, we're not.
So we're going to
learning
release
this
a
now.
second Combine interviews is how we're going to do that this week. Okay, so I was a little off there. It'll be Combine interviews, things that Mike and I do, not on the live show. We are doing a live show from 12 to 3 on Peacock, but we will be there much longer than that to do other interviews with other guys and coaches, prospects, coaches, all that type
I
of
like
stuff.
your coaches' interviews
Thanks,
during the
man.
Combine. I remember Nick Sirianni last year at the Combine,
it was
right?
awesome.
That was a great interview.
Awesome, yeah. So it's always good to be out there, and hope everybody enjoyed this podcast. Ahmed, you the man. Thanks for leading the charge. Once again, no red pants. Kind of disappointed after the break, but we'll forgive you because your tan is so damn handsome looking, and you're the Big Butt Award guy. So I got just so much respect for you. All right, everybody, be good. Stay in touch. You know where to find us. Rate, review, subscribe, and we'll see you live next week. Hey, pay attention to these Combine interviews. We'll have fun, but it'll be a normal schedule coming next Monday. All right, peace out. Clap it up. Thanks for watching, homies. Hit subscribe to see all my Unbuttoned videos. You get to see me, Ahmed Fareed, all the big player breakdowns, game breakdowns, player interviews, and my film analysis. So please subscribe. Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Peace out.